Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl, and today we get to chat with Beth Kais. Beth is trained in postural restoration and dynamic neuromuscular stabilization because everything starts with our posture and our hips. And the great advice that I loved what she said is diagnosing yourself by doing self-massage and pinching little areas in your body to find out what hurts because it's not supposed to hurt. So let's go and talk to Beth and find out more juicy details. Welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluheich, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode that we will have a fun challenge for the month. Please also join our Facebook group, High Energy Girls. Looking forward to seeing you on the inside. Hope you enjoy the show. Give a woman a fish, feed her for a day. Teach a woman to fish, feed her for a lifetime. Teach a woman to fish, end world hunger. Have you ever wanted to help people improve their health journey? Have you thought about coaching people with a keto lifestyle? Would you like to become an integrative health coach? Well, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or IIN as we call it, is the largest nutrition school in the country. And in 2011, I graduated from their program and became a health coach. It was completely awesome. We learned over 100 different dietary theories and talk about craziness and confusion. My wish for you is that we can lock arms and create a tribe of health coaches all around the country, all around the world to spread the keto message. If this resonates with you and you would like to look into this option deeper, please go to my blog at highenergygirl.com and click on the link to the right of the homepage. Here you can grab the curriculum guide and see if it inspires you. Since I care so much about my listeners, I negotiated the very best tuition rate for you at IIN. Either you can contact them directly and give them my name, or I will introduce you to a counselor so you can decide if this is a good fit for you and your career goals. Let me know how I can support you in this coaching career opportunity. Hey Beth, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey Tracy, so glad to talk to you today. I love your podcast.
Aw, thank you. Well, I have fun and I feel actually very selfish because I feel like I get to learn so many amazing things from the guests that it's very fun to have people on to inspire me personally.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's always so great to be able to share your passion and your experience and personal experience.
Yeah, very much. And everybody, I feel like they all have their gift and they all have their purpose. And I just really want a platform for people to be able to share, what they're all about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
So I've gotten to my field like most of us did, out of complete necessity. As a kid, I was super, super active, riding horses, playing soccer, and had more than my fair share of injuries, by the time I was 15. And then 9 months out of college was the passenger in a really terrible car accident. So ended up having a knee reconstructed and left with a bunch of instabilities and things. And when I had my knee done, which turns 29 next month, in fact, the 29-year-old ACL reconstruction. Yeah, it was one of the first times that they were actually being offered as arthroscopic. So they took a third section of my patellar tendon and then put screws in my back of my knee to fix it. And my physician, wonderful, wonderful man, just kind of looked at me and I said, so what do I do now? And he said, I don't know.
Great. You're helpful.
His job's done. For me, my job was just beginning. So I started to really research, the proper way to rehabilitate it. And unfortunately, they write papers about how people never recover from the type of physical therapy that I received. I'm proud to say that that is not my case, thank goodness. But yeah, just started to go ahead and find solutions for myself, and then my friends would ask about solutions, and I just ended up starting out on a track of personal training, and thank goodness the industry has grown up around me. We've moved out of sort of a one muscle, two joint physical therapy method into actually being able to understand how our muscles and joints all interrelate and why, and different patterns that can sort of come up as a result of just life in general, not necessarily even injury or activity.
And I bet you see a lot of things with people sitting at desk jobs, commuting in cars and having that like a postural or a pelvic tilt, with them sitting, right? Do you see a lot of that?
Well, the interesting thing is, and this it's based on the pioneering research done by Ron Haruska at the Postural Restoration Institute. Believe it or not, these tendencies and patterns are innate to all of us, because while we look symmetric on the outside from right to left, on the inside, our right side actually weighs more than our left side.
Why is that?
Yeah, it's mostly the liver. We have the liver on one side. We have the spleen, which is much smaller, on the other side. We have 3 large lobes of a lung on the right side, and 2 lobes and a heart on the left. So that actually biases us to stand more on our right side, sit more towards our right side, and then in being on our right side, in order to recenter ourselves, we then turn our torso to the left. And that actually is the origin of many of our compensations, regardless actually of your level of activity.
Wow, I have never heard that.
Yeah. And Ron and his group became really interested. He's a clinical physical therapist, and they kept seeing that, absent trauma, almost all the hip replacements are done on the right side, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
It should just be 50-50. So they went in and did cadaver work, and that's when they discovered that, that indeed, actually, we are heavier on our right side than our left.
Huh. And so what do you help people with? Like, how do you help people with, these imbalances and...
Well, when we start to shift to our right and stand on our right, what most people don't realize is when you're on a standing leg, that hip will tilt backwards. That's the way the body aligns itself. It's one of the ways that the spine is best supported, and the opposite hip tilts frontwards. That means that there are certain muscles that are being used a lot on both the right and the left, and then some muscles that are not being used nearly enough on both the right and the left. So what we try to do is to get the muscles that are inactive to go ahead and activate, and then turn off the muscles that are working too hard. It's a really common concept that we talk about in weight training. It's called reciprocal inhibition. So like if I want to bend my arm, I'm going to contract my bicep. But if my tricep doesn't relax, my arm won't move. So our body naturally says, the bicep is moving, we're going to bend the elbow, the tricep is going to relax. And so that's what we do. We activate these muscles that are kind of sleepy to get, to say to the muscles on the opposite side, you can relax now, I'm asking you to move for me. So it's a nice way to get the body to work synergistically with itself.
Okay, I haven't heard of those terms either. So, but what if they're doing so with that said, just because I always preach this, I always preach to lift really slowly and do a lot of negative work. So would that be the case for that as well?
It's a lot of it is just awareness. People don't even, our bodies are so wonderful machines. They compensate for everything. So most people, when they come to me, they don't even realize that they're carrying more weight on, more of their body weight, center of mass on their right side. They don't realize that they've been turned, to the left with their torso. So I like to use, measurable tests, and a lot of them are actually physical tests, and very, very simple. Are you able to actually reach down and touch your left toes and your right toes? And that will tell us a lot about the position of the pelvis. Are you actually able to stand and tuck your tush under and then perform a full squat? That tells us not only about the position of the pelvis, but our ability to actually move air through our lungs and support our spine using intra-abdominal pressure. So it's really nice to have these tests, and they're very, very simple. They can be done anywhere. I even teach them to my clients. I do a lot of remote work. So I say to them, well, if you can't lay on your side and lift your leg up, we know the hips are out of alignment. You need to do an exercise that's going to activate the inner thigh on one side. So it's very, very easy, intuitive, can be done anywhere.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a very selfish question.
Sure.
I was born pigeon-toed, and just through all my work, all the workouts and everything, and I've become bow-legged. And my knees, I've had both knees operated on with, meniscus repair. And then on the right leg, they did a lateral release. Do you know what that is?
I do.
Which was super painful, and they want to do another one on the left leg. But I still have, and my left knee is really, really tight. And do you have things that could help with that?
Yes. One of the things that does happen is, especially if you've been really, really active, so, as the changes occur and you've been standing on your right leg and turning to the left, one of the things that happens is that the diaphragm is no longer able to fully contract. I mentioned intra-abdominal pressure to you. That's the principal stabilizer for your spine and pelvis, the ability of the diaphragm to pull downward and actually compress the organs and send the pressure down into the pelvic floor. When the diaphragm cannot contract fully any longer, it fails to do the stabilization of the pelvis and the spine. And our mighty psoas, which I'm sure is a muscle you're familiar with, the one that attaches to the low back and goes to the front of the hip, the mighty psoas takes over and starts to pull the low back forward into what we call lumbar extension. So, and then, as the spine moves forward, the hips turn out, the thighs move outward, and we get that, that sway back position, too much tilt in the hips coming forward, the thighs turning out, and that's your bow leg position. So there's different muscles that you can activate that would help to correct that. Now, how much of it, to you is just a part of being you, we're not quite sure about, but I'm sure that if you did some strength testing, muscle testing, you would find that your inner thighs are not strong and functioning for you as optimally as they should be.
Okay, yeah, I think that it's also like my outer thighs, are so strong and tight, and like what you just said, the inner thighs need to be stronger, the outer thighs need to be more relaxed and stretched out so that they stop pulling laterally, right? Would that make sense?
Right. So that when we talk about, for you, activating the adductors, the muscles on the inner thigh, and the internal rotators, again, in that reciprocal inhibition, you want your thigh bones to move more towards the midline and to turn in towards the midline. So we're going to ask those muscles to activate to tell the ones on the outside, which is your abductors and external rotators, to turn off.
Interesting. Okay, I need to learn more about this because I do not want any more surgery.
Surgery can be a slippery road, and then we talk about scar tissue, and scar tissue is something that I am not only extremely familiar with, but respect very, very much. It's, our initial sort of cast to protect our bodies, but if you don't address the scar tissue, then sometimes the muscles and the realignment will be more difficult to achieve. So it's if you can avoid surgery, I think I have a good friend who says, keep the insides on the inside. That's where they're meant to be.
Well, I believe it because I think my left knee is no better from surgery. It's so tight, and it's probably the scar tissue. And what do you recommend doing about scar tissue?
Scar tissue is so simple. It just easy massage it on your own. I always recommend to my clients, especially, do your own scar tissue release, at least initially, so you know where the super sore spots are. The last thing you want is somebody poking your sore spot and you don't know that it's there, But yeah, just rolling the skin, which is another fabulous one. It's a myofascial release. I'm sure you've heard of myofascial release.
Yeah.
To help separate the skin from the muscle where it's being wetted. I guess it was this summer. We had this fascinating discovery. There's been so much discussion about, well, what does massage really do and does it really work? And scientists found an additional organ called the interstitium, which sits between the skin and the muscles and is responsible for all of the chemical communication between, send us collagen, send us elastin, take away this calcium, all that stuff. And so when you massage your skin, you're actually stimulating the interstitium to bring in all these healing properties.
Oh, wow. Okay. So when you said rolling, are you talking about like a standard, dark gray foam roller or something else?
Yeah, you can use that, or you can just pinch the skin and move it on your own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just, all sideways, up and down, across, just pinch the skin and work it all along the affected area.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. That's pretty easy to do too. I love my foam roller, and it's funny because I've been sick with the laryngitis and a little flu, and so I've been like sitting more than normal, like on the couch, and sleeping more than normal. And so my lower back, so I would say sacrum area, got really tight. And I was getting some, sharp pains during the night. And so last night I'm like, God, this is just crazy. And I didn't have time to go to the chiropractor. And so I just sat on my foam roller for a long time last night. And then finally last night I slept great and had no pain.
Right.
Thank
I'm
God.
all about the self-fix. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm all about the self-fix because I travel lots and my schedule's crazy. And so, like you said, getting to your wellness team, your chiropractor, your massage therapist, or your rolfer isn't always possible. So I'm like, I have to give I need these tools for myself to be able to fix it myself when I need it, if it's at 2 a.m. or,
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Yeah, totally. And that's how I feel. And like that foam roller, I love it for my neck, and just like even, I don't even know what they're called, but like the ligaments or whatever that go from your neck to the back of your head, just like going back and forth. Yeah. What is it called?
Yeah, it's the splenic group. So splenus, capitulus, rectus, and longus. Yeah, they're the headache muscles. They just grab the back of the head, and I love my massage. I have a little it's called the stick. It's got those little wheels on it, and I like to go along the side there.
Oh yeah, I have the stick. So it's the one that it's like a stick, and then it has like those movable little like things around it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then I also have that cane. Do you have one of those?
No, I like to use the OPTP. It's a physical therapy group. They make these tiny little pink balls, so they're smaller than a tennis ball and a little softer. And especially for my women, we don't have that much space in between our shoulder blades and our spine, like guys do. So I love these balls because they actually fit, and you can sit on them, lay on them, put them against the wall, and roll on them, and they travel really, really well. I chuck them in my bag, and when I head out to the airport.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds a lot better because that Theracane is just painful at times.
Yeah, it can be a little hard. The pink balls are a little softer too, so that they have a bit of give to them and they don't shock some of your sore spots too much.
Yeah, that's good. I like that gentle approach. So, Beth, tell us, what do you do for your clients? What do you recommend people do for themselves? What wisdom do you want to leave our listeners with today?
one of the things I really focus on, because I work with so many people of, different ages and abilities and level of injury, is it's not so much what you do, it's the foundation that you bring to it. So there was so much discussion about, is this squat better than that squat? Should I deadlift or not? And all this other stuff. That's all fantastic discussion. Which sport should I jog? Should I play tennis? All fantastic discussion. But my concern is always the body that you're bringing to it. Because if you don't have a stable foundation, you don't have proper intra-abdominal pressure and joint alignment, that's when injury is going to occur. And unfortunately, sometimes it happens slowly over time, and sometimes it happens immediately. But really the important thing is to make sure that you are actually able to support and stabilize all of your joints in order to participate in whatever it is that you would like to participate in.
And how would they do that?
So part of that is making sure that you breathe properly. I was giving a lecture for the National Strength and Conditioning Association for their Tactical Strength and Conditioning symposium. And, when you say to these huge muscle-bound military and police guys, the most important muscle in your entire body actually sits at the base of your rib cage and is your diaphragm, not your bicep, not your quad, not your abs, in the way that you think of them. You get a little funny look. But the diaphragm is essential, not only because it attaches to the lumbar spine and actually pulls up, but as we talked about earlier, it regulates the stability for the entire area. The other thing that it does is it's also a biochemical regulator. People don't think that if you're breathing shallow, it actually puts you in a heightened state of awareness. When you can't fully contract the diaphragm, your ribs will actually lift up, causing what they call that rib flare, where they stick up. You actually straighten up your upper back, and try to elevate your chest to make room for more air. That also means, too, now you're extending your lumbar spine, which makes Mr. Overactive psoas so happy to just jump in and then try and stabilize everything. So that's why, the diaphragm is just essentially important, the alignment of the rib cage and the pelvis, and making sure that you can get those full, deep, wide rib breaths, as opposed to, pulling up on the shoulder blades or extending your low back. You should be able to sit with a nice straight spine, hips and ribs aligned, low back straight, and breathe wide as opposed to up.
Okay, because I'm doing yoga teacher training, and that's like what they want us to do is, the deep breaths, to get into parasympathetic rest and digest state.
Right, absolutely.
So do you have a video or do you have like a resource that we can direct people to actually, do some sort of an exercise like this?
Oh, absolutely. I have my own little YouTube channel, and mostly for my clients, so that they can have their workouts to go, and also the Postural Restoration Institute has just fabulous archives for your people that like really want to dive into this subject and get really geeky and wonky about it, know it inside and out. The Postural Restoration Institute is a fabulous resource.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just want to give them something actionable that they can actually do and try out today so that they can understand a little bit of awareness and then look up more of your work, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also my website too, bethkais.com. I do a lot of blog work. And I also direct people. I don't know, Tracy, do you do Feldenkrais? I know you're doing your yoga teacher training, but are you aware of Feldenkrais?
I know that name for some reason, but I just can't remember why.
Moshe Feldenkrais was a fabulous therapist, from the 50s and 60s and then 70s, who designed rehab based upon the motor pattern skills of babies. And this work has been kind of expanded upon and brought more to the exercise realm, and it's Dr. Pavel Kolar, dynamic neuromuscular stabilization, who's really taken those initial principles of motor pattern learning and retraining and taken them from the rehabilitative state into the performance state. But he has also some fabulous, you probably recognize, it's like happy baby pose, but it's also the dead bug pose and physical therapy. All that kind of breathing and getting the diaphragm moving, and you actually being able to see, the pressure travel down into the lower belly and the hips. So dynamic neuromuscular stabilization, and they are all over YouTube as well. I have some fabulous videos, and the things I love most about it, not only is it really kind of fun to be to be able to roll around on the floor. My kids love it. They do it all the time. My kid patients, and but it's also it's so natural and innate. It kind of makes you feel like a kid again too.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I love, I was teaching the other day, and some of my favorite postures are things that like open up the hip or the shoulder or the hip flexors or the groin, just like all of the, like, I'm trying to think, what is that muscle if you're doing a eye of the needle? Okay, you know what that is. And then you lean a little bit towards your top foot. It opens up something on the posterior hip, like in your glute.
Your piriformis.
Piriformis. Yeah, I have pulled that muscle twice. Once when I pushed a kid in the pool, we were playing outside, and I pushed my son in the pool, and then he tried to pull me in, and I resisted, and I just pulled that baby. It took 6 months to recover.
Oh yeah, that's a doozy.
Yeah. Also, once water skiing, I was on trying to get out of the water on a slalom ski, and I just pulled the piriformis. It was like, oh my gosh, that baby is tough to heal.
Right. And with what you were describing to me earlier, in your case, both sides of your piriformis would be working a little too hard, drawing that tailbone and the femur a little too close together. So I could see where if you were trying to resist and your muscles going, no, I'm not going to stretch, that's it.
Yeah.
Since it's already a little tight.
Yeah, I think it's from all my years of running, that just kind of did me in, and I need to like really focus on, that's why I'm doing yoga teacher training right now, just so I can kind of have more yin to my yang and, just kind of balance it a little bit better.
Right. And as we said, getting that breath really going, I love all the yoga breathing work and feeling the pelvic floor move up and down and all that good pressure.
So do you have a daily breathing practice that you incorporate, Beth?
I do. In doing this work, we have, the resets of the pelvis where you're activating certain muscles or turn off other ones. I always love the positions where you're laying on your back with your knees up, and feet supported. I just love that because when you're there, you can really feel, the diaphragm pulling down, and you can feel the belly expand and the back be flat and supported. So I always incorporate that breathing work in with my pelvic reset activities. And that's how I started.
What else do you do for a pelvic reset besides? So I'm picturing that you're laying flat on your back, your feet are on the ground, your knees are propped up, your knees are bent.
Right. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, just laying on your back, getting that low back to sink and be straight and flat and feel supported on the floor. And I tell people, if you want to put your feet on an ottoman, you want to put your feet on the wall, you want to just bend your knees and leave your feet down, that's perfectly fine. And then you just, feel as you inhale that you're like pushing against the floor with your low ribs, and feel them expand wide. As the air comes in, and you can actually put your hands on your lower belly and feel the pressure come right down into your lower belly. It's really amazing.
Oh, okay. And what other healthy habits do you incorporate to your day?
Well, for me, oh gosh, I also am a Lyme's disease person as well. I lived in Jersey for a long time and had Lyme. So I've been adamant about getting inflammation out of my system. I'm huge. I love your keto stuff because I am very much into the keto, and the greens and the organics and everything. Healthy gut, making sure that I'm eating healing foods, and food as medicine, for gut health and overall health. What a lot of people don't realize is if you have gut dysfunction, whether it's just things from upset tummy to actual leaky gut or IBD, that will actually shut down the stability system for your abdomen. Your intestines have a direct connection to the vagus, the vagal nerve, which from our sympathetic, parasympathetic, that's the vagal nerve is the one that controls that. So if the gut is upset, it will not only put us in a heightened state, but it doesn't like to be compressed. So it will shut down the abdominal muscles so that it won't be compressed and become more painful. So gut health is essential to performance and stability.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good topic. So why don't you tell the listener? So I believe that many people have gut issues that don't even realize it because they're typically without symptoms until they change their diet, eliminate the offenders, and then reintroduce them. And then all of a sudden they go, oh my God, like your body adapts to what it's used to. And oftentimes, like for me personally, I didn't have any symptoms from gluten sensitivity until I eliminated it and then brought it back. What are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. It's a gradual change and process. So people don't realize that they're just, they don't have as much energy as they used to. Maybe they're a little foggy in their, in their thinking. They're not able to remember things like they used to. Kind of a general feel of malaise. And some people, they just attribute it to getting older or whatever, when in fact it really is your system not being able to process nutrients properly and feed you the way that it should. In my case, I have the MTHFR genetic mutation, so I do not process B vitamins well, meaning that in my case, I was able to process about 50 to 60% of the B vitamins, and that leads to inflammation in your system. So I'm able to manage that with a supplement that helps me process that, and it just changed my whole world.
Okay, so I've just found out that I have the MTHFR as well, and when I get my blood work back, my B12 is extremely high. Yeah,
but there are more, way more B vitamins than just B12, and it may be because are you taking a supplement or like a daily vitamin?
I'm hit or miss about it. Like I know I should, but I fast in the morning. And so once I started fasting, I got out of the habit because, you want to take your supplements with food. And so then next thing I know, I'm out and about for the day and I never took them. So that's the thing, but it's just weird. And it keeps going up and up and up every year.
Wow, that's really interesting. For me, it was my homocysteine levels. When they did my blood work, my doctor's looking at me like I'm crazy. It's like, well, this is great. This is great. This is great. Oh, wow, look at that. It's one of those. No, this is great. This is great. Oh, my goodness, look at this. And it was my homocysteine was off the charts. For me, really the trigger was when I got the Lyme's disease. That's when everything, it kind of tipped it over. And that's what they say. And, with all of these syndromes, usually there's an infection or something that happens that sort of knocks it over for you, and that was it for me. I've been going along doing pretty well, and then after I got the Lyme's, experienced a huge weight gain for no reason, and then a tremendous weight loss for no reason. And here it was, my body just saying, like, look, we used to be able to take the gluten, we used to be able to take the coffee bean, we used to be able to take, and now we just can't anymore.
Interesting, because like I interviewed Carrie Brown for Be Well Be Keto, and she was talking about the MTHFR gene. She's the one who actually inspired me to go get tested with 23andMe. And I have I don't know if it's called double negative or something where both I guess I got it from both sides. And
yeah, me.
she was talking about genetic expression and how her friend Danny Vega, he also has the gene but has no symptoms from it. And she has the gene and she has all symptoms and she has Lyme disease. So I wonder if there's something about that, that is true. Like maybe mine just hasn't been expressed.
Right. Yeah, you have it. You're such a healthy person and you're doing, 99.9% of everything right, that you're actually able to manage
that.
it. You're able to manage it. But like I said, for me, the Lyme's was just it was the beginning of a really odd roller coaster for me. That led me to look to finding a functional medicine physician who then did all of the food sensitivity testing, the genetic testing, those kind of things that now has put me on a much better path to wellness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. So what kind of food sensitivity testing did you do?
I did the Dunwoody vis-a-vis my functional medicine physician. So that tested me for about 150. And it was so funny because my doctor was kind of like, oh, well, your test is back. I sort of hate to tell you. And most of the things I was sensitive to on the test, I could have really cared less about. They weren't things I ate. Yeah, except for coffee. I did have to give up coffee. And as a person who only had it in the morning, I thought that, I felt a little dehydrated and had to go to the bathroom all the time because, it had a little caffeine and it was a diuretic. And here it was really my body saying, get this coffee out of us now. Yeah. And so, and I only had 1 cup in the morning, but when I tell you that for about 3 or 4 weeks, I was pretty beastly.
Oh, yeah. I love my coffee. Are you kidding? I just love the smell and the taste.
Yep, it's so true. But after that, my whole world changed. It was really amazing. I woke up refreshed again. I didn't have that odd feeling of being so thirsty, all day. It was really amazing. So now I'm a happy tea lover, I must admit.
Yeah, I'm having tea right now. I love mint tea. And there's a new one I tried that is this licorice tea. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Oh, I haven't had that. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's I can't remember the name of the brand. But it's got like licorice root in it. Oh, geez Louise, it is delicious. So yeah, I'm with you. But it's funny because I love kind of biohacking. And so I just did a hair test that I'm waiting to come back. I just also did Viome. So I'm waiting to hear what happens with that one. So I've done multiple food sensitivity tests, but I know that changes over time when you heal your gut. So that's kind of why I'm doing the hair test now to see where everything stands. So I just think it's so interesting to find out all of this stuff. And it's so real. And I want to encourage everyone to go out and get these tests done.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you such a clear picture of who you are on the inside and the things that you can do to support yourself. I always say it's that oh my moment. It's like, oh my, I can fix this. Oh my, I've got to fix this. Well, but at least it gives you a map.
And I think what I like to say is it takes you from compliance to commitment, meaning that instead of just saying, oh, yeah, maybe I should avoid gluten because it's quote unquote bad for me. They think it's such a fad. But when you see a number come back, like when I had my first gluten test, it said anything over 10 is considered gluten sensitive. And I was like 178. And the lab's like permanent, strict gluten-free diet. So they had nothing to gain by me changing my diet. So like, why would I argue with that?
Yeah, exactly. I like the conspiracy theorists, it's like, it's just a lab. It's just a test. Like you said, there's no benefit to them telling you this information one way or the other. It's for you to implement and decide what you're going to do with it. Exactly.
And, but I think that's true. Now let's go back to you and the physical stuff. What What do you want to leave the listeners with? What wisdom and advice do you want to tell them to get started with and apply to their week?
So I would say to them, like, especially if you're thinking of starting a new program, or maybe you've been involved in an exercise program for a while, whatever it is, to listen to your body, to listen to those tweaks in the muscle and tweaks in the joints, and to recognize that it's probably occurring because you are not in proper alignment, and to seek out someone who will not only give you physical measurements of your ranges of motion, but also practical physical tests, activities so that you can see that you're not functioning exactly and not able to do things that you should be able to do before you go off and embark on this amazing exercise program again and potentially hurt yourself further.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really important. And, even in yoga, people get hurt.
Right. I went to a yoga class with my girlfriends here, and I'm on Miami Beach, so we have yoga outside. We have sunrise, sunset yoga. It's so beautiful. Oh, but that whole everybody's like, I can arch my lower back more than you, and I'm going, ow, spinal compression, psoas stabilization. And my mind is screaming. I'm like,
yeah.
So.
And
it's that we call it Moore's law. If some is good, more must be better. And that's not always true.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that, Moore's law. And my yoga teacher, he is so strict with things. He's like, you need to workshop everything, because these people, they show up and they don't understand, like the physiological principles that they need to create a healthy spine and, prevent injury. They just want to get in there and work hard and flow. And over time, those repetitive movements of improper alignment are going to create an injury.
Absolutely. And, it's also we kind of need to get out of our Western mindset, which is that every practice is a workout. I personally love my yoga practice because it is just about breathing and being in my body, and then seeing how my joints can or cannot be challenged that day. It's not a punishment. I'm not getting my workout in. I'm bringing myself into myself and creating more awareness about myself.
Yes. And that is why I use yoga. Like, my yoga is to balance from all the hard work I did on other days of the week, and to bring back, to repair what I've done so that I can have more longevity in my workouts and in my training, and kind of recover faster. And the mind-body connection, of course.
Absolutely. Even power lifters have an amazing saying, which is, it's not how hard you work, it's how well you rest.
Ooh, that's a good one. And it's true, because that is when the repair and the growth is made, right? When your muscles are repairing is when you get stronger.
Absolutely. And it is possible to overtrain. It is possible to, have your passion, your workout actually be working against you. And I know I've listened to some of your podcasts, people talked about this, it's an unexplained weight gain, lethargy, fatigue, minor injuries. All that's a sign of overtraining.
Yeah. And they tend to do it. I mean, it's like, I work at the gym, so I see people who are there every single day doing the same exact thing every single day, and their body stays the same. Nothing's changing, So how can people find you, Beth?
Well, I'm always available at www.bethkais.com. I answer questions for people from everywhere, as best as I can, and try and point people in the right directions to their areas. But I also am here in Miami Beach. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I still have clients in New Jersey too. So I go visit my clients as well. And some of my clients fly in and come and see me here in Miami Beach.
Well, of course, it's like a mini vacation, right?
Exactly. It's the best place for wellness and sunshine and health. And we had the most beautiful winter this year too, I must say. Sorry to the rest of the country.
What about, are you anywhere on social media?
I'm on Instagram, but that's mostly just for my fun. So if you want to see pictures of my cats and all the food I make, It's Beth Kais 33139 on Instagram, and I do publish articles and things on LinkedIn. I always have my husband read them first. He's the finance guy and the layman, so I know if he understands it, it'll be good. Everyone will be able to understand it. Sometimes he looks at my stuff and he says, "Oh my gosh, what are you studying? I don't even know where to begin." But I do publish on LinkedIn as well, and then I also teach. I am kind of the instructor to the instructors. So a lot of people who are personal trainers and in the area, I lecture to them, work with them, and then also through the NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association, I lecture for them as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to learn more from you. So, and your website, we'll have a direct link to your website in the show notes page as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Any parting words you want to leave us with, my dear?
I just want to say, I love on my website, I have a quote. It says, "You can't build a great building on a weak foundation. You must have a solid foundation if you're going to have a strong superstructure." So I would like everyone to have their own superstructure to take them through, the centenarian and the beyond for their ages.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, I see so many, my mom and dad live at a old folks home now. I hate to call it that, but that's really what it is. And to watch these people who really, in my mind, aren't very old. This is including my mom. It's horrible, but she's very old. And there's ways that you can, it's like I always say, you're not too old and it's never too late.
Exactly. My oldest client now is 81. She's a professional grandmother. And all she wants to do is able to get on the floor and play with her grandkids. And we should all be able to do that at 81 and 91 and 101.
Yeah, for reals. I agree. I'm on that list with you, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I just love hearing from you and listening to your sweet little laugh, and hope to someday make it to Miami.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate it. Anything I can do, always give me a shout.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, girl.
Thanks. Take care.
You too, babe. Bye-bye. Okay, that was a lot to take in. And what I got out of it is that we really need to focus on our posture, on the way our body moves and sits and stands and performs, and our diaphragm and deep breathing. And there's so much more. So she has a website. Go check her out. And then that way you can find somebody who can help you in your area if you are interested in the postural restoration movement. So thank you so much for listening, you guys. Please go check out the show notes at highenergygirl.com/show, where you can find Beth's links. And make sure you join our Facebook group, High Energy Girls, for women in the hot years. Sorry, men, no guys allowed. So thank you for listening. Make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.